The other portion is a lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccination at the Walgreens or at the particular.
Welcome to a weekly episode of MM Talk. We're your host, Eddie Marmolejo.
And Jaime Moreno.
Well, Jaime, if I just heard the President of the United States correctly, he believes that Latinos do not know how to fill out an online form.
No, not only that, we're unable to get online to begin with.
So the man
he literally said they don't know how to get online to get in line at the Walgreens.
At the Walgreens?
The Walgreens. It doesn't sound, I don't know, for me, that sounds like white privilege. Because he doesn't even shop at the Walgreens, right?
Well, it's condescending.
But I mean,
and
it's funny because he's talking about rural people.
Yeah.
And inner city people.
Yeah.
I get the rural, maybe they don't have access to computers. I may understand that. Even though we're in 2021, right. A lot of people have phones and they can do it on their phones anyways. But inner cities, like, where is Joe Biden coming from? Like, what is it, 1962? Is this back when he was first running for Senate in 1970 or what?
I don't know. All I remember is that the man said that poor kids are just as smart as white kids, you know? Just
Yeah, I can't believe he actually said that blacks and Latinos can't get online. Right? That's just like, I don't know if to be mad or laugh because that sounded so pejorative.
It's condescending. It's condescending.
It is.
It's bad, but it's funny because this is typical Joe Biden. Biden. He does these gaffes all the time. So now I can't help to laugh. I mean, I just said poor kids are just as rich as white kids. I'm not sending my kids to an interracial jungle. You know, all these things. He said that so many times in the past. And he's gotten away with it, so he's going to get away with this one. People are going to say, well, that's not what he said. Like, that's exactly what he said. He said that Latinos can't get online and fill out an online application. Anyway.
And blacks can't either. So that just sounds like he's pretty much saying that we're stupid. We're so stupid. We're so black and we're so brown. We don't know how to use a computer. That's what he's saying.
Whatever.
Like our race makes us stupid to use online, to like use the internet.
Yeah, but before we dive into this week's topics, and always invite you guys to follow us on our page here at MM Talk Media on Instagram. You can also follow the links below as shown. Anchor FM, just look up MM Talk, Spotify, and also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube if you want to see the video version of this podcast. So for this week, we're gonna talk about impeachment, Jaime. Let's talk about impeachment real quick. Donald Trump.
What is it called again?
Huh?
What's it called?
What?
What you just said.
The impeachment trial?
Oh, it's a trial.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a trial. Yes. It's what it's constitutionally called, Jaime. It's called a trial. Okay. It's a political.
Interesting.
Trial.
Isn't that the same impeachment we said that it's stupid to have it to begin with?
It is. And
It was.
It was. And I was just, and through MM Talk and personal conversations, I was telling people there is no constitutional reason to impeach somebody who's out of office. And the Democrats kept saying, well, these events happened when he was in office, so he should be held accountable.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, but by the time you will have everything done, he will be out of office. Therefore, impeachment no longer serves a purpose. And that's the thing. And Ben Shapiro strangely said that he actually was in favor of having impeachment trials after officials have left office. And I'm like, why? And you see, the whole thing for me doesn't make sense. Why have an impeachment trial to remove somebody?
Did he explain why?
Yeah, he just said that the accountability. He was also saying accountability, but I'm like, I don't agree with you right here on this one. The whole purpose of impeachment is to hold somebody accountable while they're in office, not after office, right? And
Of course.
and another one that that a lot of people were pointing out was that former Secretary of War under U.S. Grant, I think it was William Bennett. And he basically faced the same situation. He tried to resign because he accepted bribery. So the thing is, he accepted bribes, right? So they were trying to impeach him. But he resigned. But the House said, "Well, it doesn't matter. We have to hold you accountable for your actions during office, so we will impeach you." And they also sent the documents to the Senate, because they didn't have the majority, it also failed. So Democrats are pointing to that one. But the thing is, that crime that you're talking about is an impeachable offense while in office. It's bribery. It says it right there in the Constitution, right? Bribery and misdemeanor. Well, there you go. Bribery. Speech and inciting an insurrection, not so constitutionally viable. You know what I mean? And I was like, so what's the point? Everybody's saying you can't do it. You can't do it. You got a scholar saying you can't do it. And at the end of the day, you just didn't have the majority. So you got Joe Biden over there talking about, oh, this is a sad day for America. I mean, and Nancy Pelosi saying, oh, well, I can't believe these cowardly senators didn't stand up to justice and hold Trump accountable. We just told you didn't have the majority. You didn't have the majority. Second of all, you didn't have a constitutional argument to do what you're doing. Third of all, it wasn't even the Chief Justice presiding over this impeachment trial. It was some other senator who wanted to impeach Trump in the first trial. So the whole thing is unconstitutional. You don't have the majority. Your arguments stink. Okay, you were proven wrong, by the way, with citing an insurrection after the defense team played a montage of all these Democrat leaders saying fight, 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 fight. You felt like Rocky Balboa after that thing, man, or Churchill. Now we shall fight on the beaches. All you needed was Churchill in there. But I don't know how many times we said it here in Talk. This whole thing. It's not about holding Trump accountable. It's to smear the guy because you're coming at it from an unconstitutional standard. Speech is not a constitutional standard. Some idiots who decided to storm the Capitol because they wanted to go all hoorah and go on Instagram Live, right, to take some pictures is not Donald Trump's fault. And you're setting a standard so low that when it's your turn to face the music, because it can happen, when Republicans take over, you're not gonna like it, and that's just something I told my liberal friends, and they honestly, Jaime, they don't accept that. That I'm telling you, you're setting such a low standard that when your guy is not hitting the spotlight because Republicans don't like him, you're gonna come after Republicans for doing the same thing you're doing here now. They're like, yeah, but Donald Trump. No, there's no constitutional argument, people, and I'm defending both sides on this one. I don't want either side to be attacked by this low standard. But
exactly.
Exactly.
No, not only that. I mean, the whole trial. It was just the images they portrayed, right? Because they made this whole the prosecutors, right, made this whole montage of like how horrible it was about this attack, and they made it all gloomy and fearful and so on and so forth, right? First of all, no senator, congressman was hurt.
Yeah.
Second of all, the people who died was an officer and then civilians. And you are under the most protected building, in one of the most protected building in America, second to the White House. And you're fearful. And I think it's more than not the fear of the mob that Trump incited. Thinking about it, now I'm going to go a different tangent, Eddie. We disagree with what they did. And we disagree wholeheartedly by them attacking the Capitol, storming it, to change the outcome of the election, right? To stop the vote counting, to keep Trump in power. That was stupid. And I will continue to be stupid in any book.
Yeah.
But these congressmen and senators who were so fearful for their lives that, oh my gosh, like even AOC was fearful for her life, even though she was 2 blocks away from the whole thing, right? Who thought she was going to die, but she was like 2 miles away, like a mile away from the goddamn building, right? Nowhere near the building.
Right.
But, she was fearful, right? So, yeah. Anyways, they were evacuated in a tiny minute. So the evacuation process, the procedures to get senators out of harm's way worked because none was hurt. Might they be scared and not know what's going on? Yeah. Who doesn't get scared when someone, barges into a house building? You don't know what to do. But no one stayed. No one was in their desk by the time they entered the, what's it called? The hall. Where does they meet at?
The chamber?
The chambers.
Yeah.
By the time they entered the chambers, they were all gone.
Yeah.
There was no senators. There was no congressmen. Nobody was in the chambers by the time the people, the mob, whatever, got into the chamber. I'm not justifying the mob. I'm not justifying their actions. I'm just saying that these senators and congressmen were removed and escorted so rapidly and efficiently out of harm's way that nothing happened to them. And that's great. That's good news. That means that the Capitol Police has a proper protocol to evacuate these senators and congressmen to be protected in case of anything like this happens again, or any type of attack or invasion, right? This isn't like Olympus has fallen, right? We're like, oh, these people are just dying left and right. It wasn't nothing like that, right? It wasn't like a plane came out of nowhere and just started shooting up the building. No, it wasn't, right? So the whole thing that they fear for their lives, oh my God, they were so scared. We recognize their fear. We recognize why they were scared. We recognize that, that was a terrible day and that was frightening and a lot of confusion and unknown things were happening. We understand that. We accept that. But come to the point to make it seem like you are forever traumatized by it in a sense that you can't sleep at night or you can't walk into the chamber of Congress anymore without looking behind your back or without fear of anything, that seems a little far-fetched, right? That seems a little far-fetched, in my opinion, because you have protection, way better protection than any American who's been robbed, any American who has been assaulted in their home, any American who has been harassed or anything like that. I'm not saying they're not like us, but at that time, they're protected. And they made this video look like, oh my God, it's so terrible. Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, it was scary. It was stupid. These people just entered the building and it was stupid. But they're trying to get the sob, the tear jerking attitudes of these congressmen. The tear jerking. I mean, it's like, oh my God, somber. Oh my God. Yeah. First of all, 95% of Congress are billionaires or millionaires. Okay. First of all, you can afford private security. You can afford a lot of doctors. Okay, you're more wealthier than you are in the top percent of your salary is almost $200,000 a year. You are top paying dollars. Okay, you are wealthier than 80% of America. All right. So to go up there and acting like, oh my God, all the sob stories, it's kind of like you're trying to push a narrative
exactly
to make it seem like you're the victim, right? Like you're a victim.
Yeah, that's the whole trial.
And that's what you're trying to do. Yeah, exactly. That's what you try to do in the trial. Thinking about it and looking back, I'm thinking the average person in America is way more stronger and powerful than the politicians who dictate our lives. And I think, and I'm looking at the media stuff and they're, talking about the riot and the incitement and da-da-da-da. The pundits, the media pundits aren't talking so bad about what happened with Black Lives Matter and the destruction of cities and towns and businesses and just run around the streets, burning everything, destroying everything, taking down statues, taking down buildings, blowing up cop cars, going at it with police officers, just a mess, right? They were talking about social and racial justice at the time. And these people who attacked the source of power, which is the Capitol, it's the worst thing in America.
Yeah.
So Black Lives Matter destroyed businesses, destroyed their own local communities, their own local livelihoods, and it was racial justice and justifiable. But when these people attack the Capitol, the source of power in America, it's a big problem.
That's what I don't know if you guys or you Jaime saw that post I posted of Hamilton Federalist 65, and it encompasses basically what you said, but just in more elegant terms, right? You know how they're so elegant, like
Yeah, they talk
and
smarter.
and he talks about the dangers of a faction's passions in a particular impeachment trial. How the whole purpose of the opposition or those that want to convict is to drive their point of view, and they will drive that so hard that it will eliminate the actual purpose of an impeachment trial to determine either guilt or innocence of the one being put on trial, the person being put on trial. And everything you just said and everything that we saw in this trial is a perfect example of that. Democrats driving that narrative, right? The insurrectionists and Donald Trump on the 6th, and oh my God, look, we were in danger. We were 15 blocks away, but we were in danger. This rhetoric, this divisive rhetoric, and I'm like, did y'all forget last summer? Did y'all forget when you guys said the same things? Fight on, fight on, fight on, fight on, fight on, and cities burned to the ground. And that's when you had the defense team, like I said, play this whole montage, man, of Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters, right? The people that we keep bringing up to you on this show that has said these things over and over and over again. But Hamilton saw this in the time of the founding, and liberals today simply don't get it. Why this particular trial, one, because it was a partisan trial, and two, you didn't have, you had 10 Republicans, what was it, 7 Republicans, excuse me? You weren't going to get nowhere. And to hold somebody to a low standard, how are you going to get bipartisan support by holding somebody to such a low standard? Even Rand Paul was up there and like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Why should I waste my time here? You know, and you have everybody from the founding fathers to anybody with some common sense saying, no, Donald Trump was wrong in what he said, but how do you prove an incitement of violence through speech? You can't do it, because if you do it, then these people are also put guilty. That's the consequence of it. But when I look at the farce of this trial, is the constitutional weakening that you have done, that Democrats have done by using impeachment as a tool just to pursue your narrative, man. That's my argument. That's the only argument I have.
No, it's correct. And then that's all you've done for the American psyche is that impeachment is just bull.
Yeah.
Just a waste of time, a waste of energy. It doesn't even do anything. A president doesn't get arrested. A president doesn't go to jail. Nothing.
Yep.
So you just made it look weak, and it's not gonna work, and people don't care anymore.
Let's move on, because we can go on impeachment all day. Let's talk about Texas real quick, because I know that's a lot of
Texas.
Yeah, I know. First of all, prayers for the families that are being affected by this. I know the guys are without heat. We're hearing people that are without water for 2 days. You know, they're struggling. For the workers that are putting themselves on the line, try to get these windmills going. I mean, there's wind turbines going again, and the electricity running. Thank you guys for putting yourselves on the line.
Responders for going out there, homes.
But as we dive into this topic, of course, in woke America, this is a byproduct of climate change. Yeah, automatically.
Of course.
It was a byproduct of climate change. Of course, when we start,
it's a direct result.
It's a direct result. Thank you, Jaime. But as we dig into it, once again, it proves that perhaps there are other factors that were neglected, such as, I don't know, easily as infrastructure, demand, supply and demand. Those are the things that maybe that were overlooked. I don't know why. That's the first thing I would look at. Okay, did we have the infrastructure to combat these type of weathers? Jaime, you found out some interesting information. Go ahead and tell us what you found regarding just the turbines, the wind turbines.
So, the New York Times published an article saying the glimpse of America's future. Climate change means trouble for power grids, right? So the entire article talks about, obviously, climate change and how climate change has caused this. But the most interesting part about this article from the New York Times is that the infrastructure does not meet the demand. It's unable to meet the demand. And we noticed, and we has read a lot of stuff. A lot of power plants were running out of sources. They were frozen over. The windmills in Texas were frozen and they were stopped because they couldn't generate. Right, they stopped because of the cold, and they stopped. A lot of the plants, a lot of the natural gas plants stopped working. Stopped, and a lot of the petroleum plants also stopped. And as we're reading the article, it's talking about the demand, the increased demand went so high. The state expected 68 gigawatts. That's a lot of energy. 68 gigawatts of energy. That was the maximum amount. They in the worst case scenario, that's the amount of energy the state would pick up. 68 gigawatts. That's a lot of energy. But because of this snowstorm, first of all, it was unexpected. Second of all, it was snow, which hardly hits Texas, right? I mean, I imagine there's regions of Texas that get snow, but I mean, not at this level, right? Like it just literally just caught everyone by surprise. Maybe not by surprise, but it just caught everyone off guard. People weren't ready for it. People weren't expecting it. People weren't even, they weren't expecting this winter to just hit them, right? So because they didn't expect it, the first thing they start doing is let's crank up the heaters. Let's start cranking up the heaters, crank up the heaters, crank up the heaters. It's cold, it's cold, it's cold, it's cold. So the demand for energy increased that the grid, the infrastructure could not meet the surpassing amount. So once it reached to 68 gigawatts, it surpassed that. It went beyond that because a lot of people started using energy, electricity, heaters, natural gas to warm up their houses, warm up their apartments, warm up their ranches, warm up stores, warm up restaurants, warm up everything that human beings are in. They're going to start warming it up. And it surpassed what was expected in worst case scenarios. So as Democrats are going to point as global warming, and that's what we need the new Green Deal. And then Republicans are going to blame this on the new Green Deal, right? So Democrats say we need new Green Deal to prevent this, to stop this, to make sure we get energy efficiency. And Republicans are saying because of the gridlock and the power outages is at fault, it's the fault of the new Green Deal, right? Both are correct. Both are the problem. Because as climate changes, when did you ever hear Texas have snow like this? It's unexpected. The last time this happened was in 2008 and 2018, I believe, where something like this happened. Even 2011 and 2012, where they had this damaging cold snippets or instances in Texas. It happened twice in the past, but this time it was way beyond what they expected, way beyond what happened in the past. So that's a problem. Because of this new Green Deal stuff is supposed to keep us cold, warm, and with light and electricity, but it isn't able to handle the extreme cold, then what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have the other people talking about, well, we need to stick to fossil fuel and stuff like that to get them out there. But if the roads are iced up and the roads are, unable to drive by trucks, we're unable to pass through pipe because they're frozen, then we're in the same situation. So based on this article, and then we've read a lot of articles and watched TV and everything, but I think this is the most honest, more accurate as to what happened is that Texas's power grid cannot handle this spike in cold, this unexpected cold winter. It was unable to handle it. All the energy efficient structure collapsed and all the fossil fuel structure collapsed.
Yeah.
They weren't ready for it. And it is what it is. It's unfortunate.
And that's been my, when I talk about green, clean energy, look, I'm all for free energy. Trust me, I don't want an electric bill. I don't want one. I have too many bills. If I can get rid of my electric bill, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And it helps with the planet. It's a good thing. I mean, I'm all for it. What drives me in anything regarding policy is the following questions: how much and who pays for it? Right? That's just my perspective. How much and who pays for it? And is it effective? Well, the problem that we're having with energy, just in the energy and clean energy sectors, is that a lot of green energy right now, and maybe it's the technology, hopefully in the future you can develop it to it becomes really compatible, and this is true in China, I was talking to Jaime about it, is that green energy fields or turbines or anything like that, it cannot generate enough power to meet the demand of a certain area. And then you go back and depend on fossil fuels to meet that demand. So we're stuck in the same phase. You know what I mean? It sounds good. It sounds good theoretically, but when we put it into practice, we're starting to see the cost. We're starting to see the issues, right? And that's what needs to be worked out. Like I said, if you're not for green, clean, free energy, then you're a fool. Because trust me, I don't want to pay any more money. Okay, but I'm not talking about remapping the entire infrastructure of the United States, right? Where your buildings have to be torn down and rebuilt to meet all these criteria. No, that's just dumb. Okay, you can adapt. That's what adapters are for. Okay, but anyways, when it comes to Texas, when I see the primary failure, for me, it's not so much the climate. It's so much of the Texian infrastructure was not really set up to meet this type of weather, and it's unfortunate. Because in that same article, Jaime, I think it pointed out to the differences between Texas and the Northeast, where they are so accustomed to this type of weather that their infrastructures are set up to meet that demand. But Texas, every time I hear Texas, I hear humidity, rain, and tornadoes and desert storms. That's all I hear from Texas. I don't hear strong winters like this one right now. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, I think we need to step back away from the climate change alarm and say, okay, what happened on the ground? And in this particular case, right, it was just their infrastructure. There is no conspiracy against Texas. No, it's just their infrastructure did not basically was set
cannot
up
handle demand.
Yeah, to not set up to meet the demand of people turning up their heaters to 100 degrees because it's like probably, I don't know how cold it was over there, but you know, it is what it is, man. Yeah, natural gas, electricity, you need all that power. You couldn't meet it. Unfortunately, you ran out of power.
And in that same article, it talks about that. It says, even though we have renewable energy and green energy, whatever, it costs way more to be able to set it up to meet the demand, especially in unpredictable weather.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you have to set up a system where it has to be able to handle unpredictable weather, it costs more to set it up. And that leads to increase in prices to the consumer. And they don't want that. They don't want to increase utilities because consumers get mad when that happens. It's like the worst you can do. Increase the light bill, increase the water bill. That's the worst you can do, right? That's like, you guys are retarded. But the article points that out too, that if we want to have green energy and these electric grids and all this clean energy, it's going to cost way more money to provide them with that infrastructure to survive, not to produce, to survive inclement weather, to survive extremes like this, just to survive. It's not even like, oh, they're going to produce when it's happening. To be able to survive, to not freeze over, to not get frozen, to not get stuck, to not, to not stop doing what they're supposed to be doing, providing energy, right?
Right.
Even as demand goes up, and the article goes into that and talks about it, and it's a really complicated issue in the sense that even though, like Eddie says, I mean, who doesn't want to pay light bill? I don't want to pay light bill. I don't want to pay water bill. I don't want to pay gas bill. Hell no, right? But at what cost?
Yeah.
Right. And then when an intense weather happens out of nowhere, just because of nature, just unexpected, and I don't have my utilities up because the infrastructure wasn't set up to handle that, then we have problems. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like if in California, it's like in Southern California, all of a sudden it snows out of nowhere, like just snows, 2 feet of snow. That would be the craziest thing ever. No one's expecting that. Right? Everyone's going to turn up the heaters and everyone's going to turn up their electric bill, and it's going to happen the same thing here in Southern California.
Yeah.
We're going to turn up our heaters because, hell, we never had snow before. What the hell is snow?
And
the only snow we've been to is Big Bear Mountain, right? Huh?
And so we already have blackouts as it is, so we're going to get blacked out.
Yeah. We have blackouts in the summer in the heat. You expect us to be ready for winter?
Like, all sweaty and like social and everything, dude. And then like the governor's like, turn it off, turn it off. Southern Californians,
turn off your AC.
Turn it off.
Flex fuel, flex fuel.
Oh,
So
man.
the thing is, Texas, we like Eddie says, our thoughts and prayers to the families out there in Texas who are suffering through this. It's unexpected. No one expected this. I mean, it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe we were warned about it. I don't know. But for me, it seems like people weren't prepared for it.
Yeah, that's
a lot of they weren't prepared for it. There are people in line waiting for petroleum, for propane, for coal. People doing dumb things like turning the cars inside the houses to warm up. I mean, that's dangerous because of carbon monoxide. A lot of things to keep warm. Unfortunately, they're trying to go to extremes because they're not expecting it. The infrastructure froze up, and as much as you want to blame climate change, you also have to blame the infrastructure. These machines, these electric grids, these power-friendly, eco-friendly systems froze.
Yeah.
And because they froze, because of the winter, they were not able to deliver the demand. And that's what we think, and that's our research based on Texas. You can talk about politics, about climate change, you can put out all that. All that is probably true, but this is the most realistic article we found
on the ground.
On the ground, okay, you know what? We had infrastructure, but it surpassed our demand. Yeah. It surpassed what we were expecting. Mm-hmm. And the article talks about it. Yeah. They had this much, and this is the worst case scenario with this number. Mm. And this, what's going on in Texas now, surpassed that. Mm-hmm. So I bet that the engineers or the power system is going to prepare for this type of weather in the future. So when this type of weather happens again in Texas, they're ready for it, right? And that's just how it works. It's like we always say, it's a lesson of what? Try on error. So we'll see. I mean, the governor blamed it on the New Green Deal. I think some other people are calling him liar for it. So it's like, for me, it's 50-50. Unexpected weather is going to happen. Unfortunately, and nature's nature, or God's wrath is God's wrath, whatever you want to believe. Yeah.
I like on the issues, like when it comes to climate and infrastructure and energy demand, I like to know what this article pointed out in the second half of the article after that woke fluff in the first half. And the second half of the article was really good, and that's what I wanted to see. But speaking of wokeness in America, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about education for a minute. I don't know if I should. Oh, wait, no, hold on. I can't start on education. First of all, let's go with COVID real quick. According to CNN, there was a study coming out of Harvard University. Like Harvard. I know it's,
now, for those who don't know, Harvard is the most elite school in America. Top of the top, number one in the country. Right? Number 5 in the world. Okay, that elite, like. A lot of presidents have graduated from Harvard. Yes. A lot of the smart people have graduated from Harvard. Harvard is like the smart of the smarts, right? It's like the pristine school. Like, you're set for life if you graduate from Harvard, Well, okay, so this is the same university I'm talking about. The same university last year that was trying to sue the Trump administration for its student travel ban. Yeah. Because it was going to miss billions of dollars of money in their pockets. Remember?
Yeah. Because it was the Trump cabinet members to come speak at the university. Anyways, this university right here published a study that states that if we had given African Americans reparations, they would have been less susceptible to COVID-19. That's the gist of the article. That is the gist of the article. That if the United States government had paid reparations to African Americans, they would have been less susceptible to COVID-19. Now, keep in mind that science and CDC data have proven that the reason why Latinos and African Americans are more susceptible to COVID-19 is because of pre-existing conditions, such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and any other underlying conditions that can make you more susceptible in capturing the virus. But according to a woke Harvard study, you needed reparations.
And you could have prevented COVID.
And you could have prevented COVID. So I gave the article to Jaime, and Jaime could not stop laughing. Right? He could not stop laughing.
I think I have it here still.
Let me see if I can find that quote, Jaime. They just yeah, this is the quote that Jaime literally almost fell out of his chair. Okay, it states, okay, our study simply gives yet another example of how racism gets into people's bodies and makes them sick, which can be added to this litany. Look at him. He's about to fall again. He read that line, folks, and he almost fell out of his chair. I don't know if he's going to come back right now.
Say it again.
Quote.
I think they heard it. Say it loud for the people in the back.
So, quote, our study simply gives yet another example of how racism gets in people's bodies and makes them sick, which can be... So COVID-19, right, is now a byproduct of systemic racism in America. And the only way you could have combated is not by being healthy, right? Not by being healthy.
Racism gets you sick.
It's just another tool of racism, and you're targeted. And reparations was the only solution that this CNN article points. Well, actually, not the CNN article. The Harvard study points out that's a way, African Americans weren't going to be susceptible to COVID-19. I mean, seriously?
I'm sorry. That was just too funny. That's just too funny.
This comes from the people on the left who says abide by the science, listen to the science. Science knows best. Science is our religion. And when health officials or the former Surgeon General told you, hey, guess what? We African Americans are susceptible to A, B, C, and D. And because we have A, B, C, and D, our cases are up. You called them. I don't know. You guys called them out on it. Said, why are you using I think it was Ebonic terms like pop or mom, whatever. He said he was saying like these terms and he got ridiculed for it.
He's black though.
And the guy's black. Yeah. But this is what I'm saying. He's telling you he's giving you a scientific explanation to why we are more susceptible to this virus right now. And here you have this left-leaning article from CNN who quotes a Harvard study and says, well, you just needed reparations.
Yeah, literally, the article says that if reparations are paid out at $800,000 per household.
Yeah,
before the pandemic. Okay, before the pandemic, black people would have been less likely to have caught COVID.
Look, the article just never makes a clear connection between how reparations stops.
Yes, I'm thinking
how is this stop
virus
people from getting COVID? It just makes a social justice warrior argument. There is no way. Not
only that, it contradicts the narrative.
Yeah,
they keep saying that this virus knows no race. This virus knows doesn't discriminate. It gets everybody, right? But for some reason, if black Americans would have had reparations, let's say December of 2019, they would have survived COVID. Really?
Anyways,
because for some reason, within a month, they would have got rid of cancer, diabetes, heart attack, blood pressure, sugar levels. I mean, if you would have given Latinos $800,000 per household before the pandemic, the first thing we would have done in Latino household is buy a troca. Okay?
With a Pemex sticker.
All right? Put some rims, probably get some fancy clothes, maybe do some repairs at the house. I don't know, right? Yeah. I mean, if you don't believe me, look at use Dave Chappelle's show's skit on reparations, and you will see. Even he himself knows that. He gives a perspective on what reparations will do to Black Americans. Right? Yeah. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that's the way it is. I'm just saying how reparations would have helped prevent COVID. Sorry, my camera fell. COVID from
Black people
infecting Black people.
Yeah.
How?
I don't know.
And that same article goes on to say that minorities, Mexicans, Latinos, and Black Americans are frontline workers. They work in retail, food service, in hospitals, in janitorial service, which is, face-to-face interaction with people. They quote that and they say, but that doesn't explain the racism that's causing these people to get more of the COVID. How? Yeah. So the connection doesn't make sense, right? The connection doesn't make sense that money would have helped people not catch the virus.
Yes, you could, basically money is the only way you escape somehow a systemically racist virus. Yeah,
so that was just a weird article. Yeah. I mean, I downloaded to read the actual science. Yeah. The funny part was how racism gets into your body and makes you sick. So that just made me laugh. Yeah. I feel like, there's racism flowing in the air and you just catch it like a virus.
Well, let's
I'm not sorry. That's just hilarious. You can't, there's racism in the air. Don't catch it. He's going to make you sick.
Let's continue here in woke America. So there's this article from Fox 11, local Fox, right? And it talks about how LA school board removes police officers from campuses and approves black student investment. So according to Tuesday, is it this Tuesday? Let me see. Yeah, this past Tuesday, the LA school board voted unanimously to replace school police officers with what they called hold on, what do they call them again? School climate coaches. Okay, sure. Okay, so this is part of the Black Initiative, right? They will replace, once again, police officers with school climate coaches. And the article goes on explaining how they're going to do it. They're going to implement positive school culture, use social emotional learning strategies, eliminate racial disproportionality in schools, so on and so forth, right? And it goes on and on and on. $4.4 million on a curriculum for instruction of including expanding diverse representation. Anyways, a woke agenda. That's what I'm trying to get to, right? Millions of dollars of woke agenda that, by the way, are only going to be implemented in majority black student-bodied schools, high schools. Okay, so if the high schools are predominantly black, have a black student body like Crenshaw, Dorsey, Fairfax, Gardena, Hamilton, Narbonne, Venice, and Westchester. That's where that's where these programs are gonna take place. This is what you're gonna have. That was okay. So another woke agenda. We're gonna remove officers. There is one problem though. As you go down in the article, quote, prior to the vote, a survey was presented to board members which collected responses from more than 35,000 LAUSD high school students, 6,600 parents, and 2,300 certified and classified staff members on high school campuses. According to this survey, 51% of LAUSD students feel that having school police on campus makes the school safe, but only 35% of black students said they felt it made the school safe. So the majority of students in the school feel that police presence is necessary, but only a minority of black folks feel that it's necessary. So police makes people feel safe, but since we're in woke now, the LAUSD is woke. We're going to remove all police officers,
despite the survey that tells us on the
survey that was given prior to the vote, right, of a good sample size.
Yeah, 32,000 students. That's a lot.
35,000 students that attend those high schools. They know what's going on in the high schools. 6,600 parents who are going to say, "Yeah, I want cops. I want my kids to be safe," and 2,300 staff members who are probably teachers who are saying, "You know what? With all this crazy stuff going on, maybe we need some cop presence in the school." They said, nah.
But somehow they're like, nah.
We don't care about that. So remove all those officers, put some climate coaches in there. And we're going to call it a day. I mean,
explain to the viewers what climate coach is. And it's not about the weather.
It's not about the weather. So These climate coaches basically are the ones that. The best way that I understand it is like, you know, your supervisors. You know, you had your high school supervisors that used to walk around and monitor what you were doing. That's basically what they are. But they're gonna be enhancedly trained with with racial training. You know, removing some stigmas and all that. So they will be woke as well. So just get ready for that one. I mean, this is utterly ridiculous. This is utterly ridiculous. But that's LAUSD for you. That's LAUSD. But let's go to New York. Okay, so let's go to New York. And this is where I really I was like, whoa, New York is taking a real sharp turn here. So article in the New York Post, and this is the title of the article. New York City Public Schools ask parents to reflect on their whiteness.
Yes. Yes. You heard that right. Reflect on your whiteness, America. Reflect on your whiteness.
So this East Side High School principal, his name is Mark Fetterman, sent handouts. He sent handouts to parents of the kids who attended this school. And in those handouts, there was a chart, right? It looks like this. So Bernard Hess is the creator of this chart. He is the associate professor of African American Studies at Northwestern University in Illinois, right? He basically created a chart that goes from white supremacist to white abolitionist, right, left to right. And in his chart has the definitions, but it starts off with, quote, "There's a regime of whiteness, and there's action-oriented white identities. People who identify with whiteness are one of these. It's about time we build an ethnography of whiteness, since white people have been the ones writing about and governing others." What does that even mean? What are you talking about? That is like a historically inaccurate thing. You mean to tell me that white people throughout the context of history have only governed others? How many nations are in the world? And how many ancient nations with like history that predates the Bible itself are still in existence? I'm talking about China, India, for just to name a few. What about our civilizations here in the Americas? I don't know what this guy's even talking about, but anyways, let's dive in. White supremacist, clearly marked white society that preserves, names, and values white superiority. White voyeurism wouldn't challenge a white supremacist. Desires non-whiteness because it's interesting, pleasurable, seeks to control the consumption and the appropriations of non-whiteness. Fascination with culture, example, consuming black culture without the burden of blackness. What does that mean? A white guy watching BET all day and, I don't know, consumes the black culture? I mean, okay. I mean, please don't be offended. I'm just trying to figure out what this definition means. White privilege may critique supremacy, but a deep investment in questions of fairness, equality under the normalization of whiteness and white rule. Sworn goal of diversity. White benefit. Now, for all you that call us sellouts, right? Just because we go against the narrative, I guess this is where you put us people of color in, right? The white benefit. Sympathetic to a set of issues, but only privately. Won't speak, act in solidarity publicly because benefiting through the whiteness in public. Some people of color are in this category as well. White critical. Take on a board critiques of whiteness and invest in exposing, marking the white regime. Refuses to be complicit with the regime. Whiteness speaking back to whiteness. Guess this is the woke crowd. The white guilt. White traitor. Actively refuses complicity. Names what's going on. Intention is to subvert white authority and tell the truth at whatever cost. Need them to dismantle institutions. Man. You remember that video? I am responsible. I accept responsibility. And this is about all these white actors taking responsibility for black people getting shot in the streets, even though evidence already shows that it's the contrary, that cops don't kill blacks systematically. But let's move on. White abolitionist. Changing institutions, dismantling whiteness, and not allowing whiteness to reassert itself. I mean, what does that mean? People give up being white? My point is this. What is going on here? New York City schools, folks, according to an article in the New York Post, right, shows that many are not trusting the data of graduation rates because they're inflating them. And they're inflating them by having people that did not graduate in time, went to summer school, to be put in that year's category of graduation. So they're inflating the statistics. Several schools are failing the state's regents mathematical and literacy tests. The lausd has been under attack for this. But according to this woke principle, the biggest threat that this school faces is white supremacy. Never mind that this principal school is 55%, student body is 55% Latino. So what is the threat of white supremacy? This again shows the unwillingness, right, to actually combat the issues of the student body. What's preventing them from learning? What's preventing them from graduating? What is going on? No, let's just attack white people. They're the problem. We got to make everybody equal, because this is all about equity, right? We got to make everything equal. So we have to have white parents reflect on that, because Asian kids are graduating at larger rates than white people, over white people. They're accepted to universities at a higher rate than white people, but white people are the problem. But it gets worse. Just take a look at these tweets. If you find this hostile or unnerving, it is because you're fearing the loss of power and advantage that your skin color has offered you. It's an agenda to bring true equality. Never mind that I just said that it could be your teachers stink, right? It could be that your school stinks, right? It doesn't provide good education. No, it's white privilege. Response to that is, I am not vengeful or hateful, but I can see what this could achieve. And then some guy replied back, this is bad, crazy. And if people carry on like this, is going to backfire and set race relations back decades. Which is true. Strong argument, right? If you can make this all about race in a country where Martin Luther King says, do not look at somebody's race, but the merit of their character. Well, we're going backwards here. Oh, and this is my favorite one. Think about culture values. It's a measurement of culture that is used to compare cultures. How toxic. With this agenda, we can start by eradicating the strongest culture, then move on through the others. So it won't stop at whites. Probably after white, I don't know, Asian maybe, because they're the highest, they have the highest graduation rates and success rates in America. Then we're probably, I don't know where we're going to go after that. Then there won't be any cultural differences to separate us. Wonderful. Do you see the left wing language in this Twitter? Eliminate everything. Identity, what you are, what you believe in, because in the end, it's all about being equal. Utopia. That's where we're heading. This is woke America. We're gonna replace safety in our schools because we want to be woke. Now we're demonizing white parents because we feel their kids have some sort of privilege in schools. But we're not going to talk about failing rates of those schools. We're not going to talk about what's the success failing rates of students passing their state exams. Those kids that are successful going into college after they graduate said high school. Nah, we're just going to attack white parents.
And this is the principal from a school that is 55% Latino.
55% Latino. I think their most dangerous is.
I don't even think the principal knows who his audience is. I don't even think he knows his own student body. Because if you send a whiteness chart to a Latino household, they'll be like, "What the hell is this?" I ain't gonna answer that.
¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué es esto?
¿Qué es esto? Yeah, like, ¿qué es esto cochinada? ¿Qué es esto? No entiendo. A ver, what is this? What's whiteness? Like,
Yeah,
What the hell?
it's asking the kid to translate, but the kid was translated according to what I'm reading from New York City data. Can't even pass the state exam, so I don't even know if he can even read it. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is woke America phase 1. This is what I'm talking about. You seen it from Joe Biden, who thinks Latinos can't even get on a computer to fill out an online form, to schools saying, well, we just need to protect black kids at all costs because of systemic racism, even though data supports the exact opposite argument. To a principal.
Not only that, I'm also looking at the mental health of these white kids.
No, I know.
We already have a growing number of kids being suicidal, killing themselves, going into depression in high school, right? Mm-hmm. Which is something that I don't remember hearing about a lot when I was in high school. So I could be wrong. Maybe they were there, but we just didn't have the data, or it wasn't spoken of as much. I can't really say it exists, but it wasn't common to hear it, right? It wasn't common to hear that someone committed suicide or someone was in depression and just killed themselves for whatever reason. It was rare when it happened, right? Rare. Nowadays, kids are going through suicide, killing themselves, going through the whole bullying phase and stuff. Now, if you're telling these white kids that they're the worst people in the world just because they're white, that's going to mess up their psychological health.
No, Jaime,
in my opinion,
become white.
I'm not an expert, but just because they're white and they have privilege, and because they're white, they're destroying everyone else's livelihood and success. That's a big toll on a lot of students. Especially as a developing and growing.
It's racist.
It is racist, Eddie. Yeah. It is racist. But also, we have to look at the whole mental health of this thing. If you were to do that for black people or Latinos, saying that, you got to check your blackness, or you got to check your Latino-ness, in order to be a more just society, you got to check how you are, what level of blackness are you, what level of Latinos are you. That would be some bull. That would be some bull. Why are we permitting this to happen to white students? Are they at fault for what happened in the past? No. Should they be held responsible for what happened in the past? No. If their grandparents did that, or their great-grandparents did something that happened many years ago, they shouldn't be held responsible. They should be held responsible for their own actions, for their own behavior. If they're acting racist and they're behaving as a racist on their own, it is them. They need to be held accountable. But don't blanket everybody just because they're white that everyone's racist and they have privilege and need to be self-hating and self-loading and what was the term? Self-abolishing these kids to the point where you're going to mess up their psychological identity. You're going to mess it up. Down the road, we're going to, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I already see the mental health.
And it starts at the lower schools, man. You're setting up you're setting up a generation, and you're totally right. And I'm just calling for what it is. This is just racism. This is racism, right? By people of color against whites. Now we're turning the tables, okay? And if you feel that some sort of justify what happened in the past, then you're going against Martin Luther King. You're going against the Nelson Mandelas. You're going against all these people who advocated for true equality, right, through their means. Right, and said, look, it's not about race, it's just equality under the law. All we want is equality on the law. The left doesn't want equality under the law. The left wants equality based on your skin color. That's not equality. And they're gonna turn on you. That tweet just said it. And once we take care of the whites, we'll take care of the next culture. So who's next? The Asians? Because the Asians are the ones that succeed. I mean, they're the doctors. They're the ones that go to prestigious universities. We just saw here in California where they were trying to abolish the affirmative action thing so more Latinos can go to university.
Bring back affirmative action.
Bring back affirmative action. Thank you, Jaime. So more Latinos and blacks can go to universities because Asians were the dominant minority in this category. What's next? What's next?
Exactly.
This is what I'm talking about. This is the dangers that I'm talking about. And a lot of you on the left are not gonna like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Mm-hmm. We're setting up a generation, right? It's being taught racial education. That's being taught to hate its country. So when they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, right? And they're basically indoctrinized. Is that even a word, indoctrinized? Oh, indoctrined, right?
Yeah, indoctrinized.
Through this whole system,
indoctrinated.
America. You get
the term is indoctrinated, Eddie.
Huh?
Indoctrinated is a term.
Yeah, indoctrinated. Yeah, indoctrinated. I don't know why I said that, but indoctrinated
Okay.
through this whole
Woke.
system. I mean, you get what you get the people that you get today. It's only gonna get worse, and it's not fair. It's not fair for us that really want to discuss the issues, make our country better. Nah, it's all about race. It's all about color. We're going backwards. This whole progressive thing is regressive. Let's just call it for what it is. We're all about creating justice, but that creates justice on what it means by the law, not by your skin color. But yeah, man, it's upsetting when I read this. It's funny because when you react to it, this is just so stupid. But as you dive into it, you start going from funny to angry to frustrated, and it's like, well, that's how you get people. That's how you get people that are just upset about it, and just want to talk about it, and finally speak out against it. And that's what has to happen. But who knows when?
Well, I was this cancel culture, so I guess it's just the narrative of the liberal, communist, socialist party.
It is. That third tweet talked about utopia, people. And if you don't believe me, just read some Das Kapital, read some Communist Manifesto, read some. That's the language you'll see in there.
Exactly.
But anyways, listen to here, Jaime.
Well, before we go, let's just talk about California real quick. So Newsom is about to be recalled.
Right.
We already have the signatures to usher in a recall, but we're still trying to get more signatures on it. If you haven't signed, if you want Governor Newsom to be recalled and you would like to sign a petition, please check the link that we'll have on our page for the petition. You can sign it online. You got to be a registered voter, right? You got to be a registered voter in order to sign a petition. So if you are a non-citizen, then you cannot sign a petition. And I'm not saying that as racist. It's because in order to vote in America, you still have to be a citizen. So
for now,
so you're a voter, you're a citizen, right? You register to vote, and I mean, well, you can be a citizen and not be registered to vote, but you got to be registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, because you need to sign that petition if you want to. With that being said, we did mention what potential replacements for Governor Newsom could be. One person we talked about, or I would prefer, is Major Williams. Right? He's African American, conservative, independent, kind of independent in the sense that he thinks on his own. That's my choice. But we also have a new person who might throw in his hat to the race. And Eddie, do you know the name of this person?
Yeah, so if you remember Richard Grenell, he was the former acting director of national intelligence for Trump. He was the former ambassador to Germany. Okay.
Now, come to mind, this man was also the first.
No, don't say it. Hold on.
Okay.
That's what I was getting to.
Okay, sorry,
So
my bad.
if you read media, you will not read. You will read former Trump advisor, former Trump follower, renegade former ambassador, radical ambassador, and former actor, former director of national intelligence, Richard Grenell. Okay, you will read all that, right, before you will get to who Richard Grenell is, and I just told you who he is. There is one important thing that these media outlets will tell you 15 paragraphs into all these articles. He's also gay. Now, Eddie, why is that important? Because if it was Pete Buttigieg, it would be the first thing they would put on every single article, which they did. Okay, they would put every pronoun, adjective, right, that in the English language to describe said person. But Richard Grenell, because he was a Trump advisor, a former ambassador, acting director of intelligence, right, really popular among the MAGA people. That guy's a radical. He's not even gay. I mean, come on, man. So
he's not even gay.
He's not even gay. It's like if like Jaime and I, we're not even Latinos anymore. We're whitewashed. We're sellouts.
Yeah, we are.
But anyways, so Richard Grenell has been rumored that he's been talking to a lot of donors here in Southern California, and he's poised to throw his hat in the ring if the recall goes through. Now, like I said, he's popular with the MAGAs, right? With the MAGA group. He's very popular. The only concern is that he's too popular with the MAGA group, that he may sway those that are voting, that there might be independents or Democrats voting against Newsom in this recall effort, right?
You might turn him off.
Yeah, because of the strong Trump background. But having said that, I think this is the strong candidate if he were to throw his name in the ring. He's known. He's going to be more known than Major Williams. I'm just saying. I'm sorry, Jaime. I'm sorry, but he's going to be more known.
So another white man is an overshadow of a black man.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying name recognition. Jaime. I told you my reservations in our last episode about all these candidates. And I said Major Williams has a great platform, but outside of social media, does anybody really know who he is? No. Richard Grenell has those strong connections already, and he's not even named in the race yet. Right? And like I said, he is strongly supported by the MAGA group. And in California, there is a strong presence of a MAGA coalition in California. Like I said, the only worry is that it may be too strong, that it may sway away those other voters that are turning against Newsom in this recall effort. That's the only. But I think, having said all that, he would be your strongest candidate. I'm not saying he's going to be your best candidate, but coming out with name recognition and the platform, he's going to be a stronger. And he's gay.
He's the first openly gay director
and like I said, in California, those things matter. But the media won't tell you that because there'll probably be 15 paragraphs into whatever article they write about because he's not Pete Buttigieg.
He's not a liberal. He's not a Democrat. That's why his gayness, if that's even a word, or that's why the fact that he's an openly gay man.
Yeah.
And he would be one of the few openly gay governors if he wins.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's not because he doesn't fit the narrative of the media as being a Democrat. So they want to scare you away from him by saying that he's a radical and a Trumpinite and all that stuff to fear-monger Californians, right? But once they find out that he's openly gay, he's pretty moderate, a lot of issues.
Yeah, he's an open LGBTQ activist. Hello, another positive for him. But like I said,
that was in the Trump administration. Yeah, he worked as ambassador.
So, like I said, he's gonna be a strong candidate. How strong we'll see. If he decides to run, we will see. But that's the big rumor. That for me is that big name I was waiting for. Like one of those big names. Okay, this guy, former
name recognition. Yeah, I got you. Name recognition.
Former AMBO, former DNI, LGBTQ activist. I'm like, my goodness, that's like a recipe for good for California. The problem is he was a MAGA guy. And in California, well,
Yeah, and the media, like Eddie says, the media is going to scare you away from this candidate.
Yeah.
By already instilling that fear now by calling him a radical, crazy, conservative Trump guy, right? Former Trump advisor, just Trump. But then he's going to try to scare a lot of Californians from ever considering him as a serious candidate.
Yeah.
Right? But that shows you how hypocritical and biased the media is, even though they claim to be the source of truth, right? Yeah. Because the first thing, like Eddie said, if you would have been Pete Buttigieg, first openly gay candidate to California governorship. Could California get a gay governor? Right? That would have been all over the headlines. Yeah. Right? But since he's gay, which they'll notice, but since he worked for Trump, they're going to say Trump.
He's a radical.
Radical.
Yeah.
Crazy radical. So
it was funny. I was talking to a colleague of mine from my grassroots organization, and he said his slogan should be "I'm gay." To ingrain that in everybody's mind that I'm Richard Grenell for governor. I'm gay.
Gay, yeah. That wouldn't be too bad. I mean, that defeats the purpose of conservatism, which is we vote based on your gender or race, right? That totally defeats it.
Yeah.
But for California, in order for him to win, you will need to use that tactic.
You have to use the Democrats' playbook against them, folks. I'm sorry.
Like, no one cares what your platform is. You're gay? Oh, you got my vote.
So we'll see. We'll see if he decides to run. I think this will be that strong candidate I was waiting for. And if he does, we'll see how the race turns out.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So, thank you very much for tuning in to MM Talk this week. We appreciate you guys for subscribing to our channels and listening to our podcast. Please give us your feedback on what you would like for us to speak about or clarify. If there's anything we said in this podcast that was unclear, please let us know, and we will be glad to clear anything up for you. But most importantly, please follow us on Spotify, Anchor FM, Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to share our channel to family and friends who are interested and would like to have a different perspective on what's going on in the headlines. And that being said, thank you for tuning in. My name is Jaime Moreno.
I'm Eddie Marmolejo.
And remember, we're tired of it too.